So today we are here in this podcast, but not by chance. No, nothing in your life is by chance or by accidental. You are here because you choose to be, and that choice, whether conscious or not, was born of a belief. Well, let me tell you now, had it not been for belief, you would not be here in this podcast listening, nor would the chair or the bed beneath you would hold its form. So when I say everything, I mean everything. Everything in your life is the belief outpictured. So today in this lecture, I invite you, maybe in this lecture, not a journey across the land or maybe sea, not a physical path, but a journey inward. Not a journey to find something new maybe, but to remember that which has always been yours, a power within you. And it remains my unwavering hope that somewhere along this path, you come to know that there is only one man, and that is within you, and that is you. And in knowing him, the man in you, you remember this power, the creative power that lies within you, a power older than the time, the deeper than a thought, and the more real than anything you have ever seen with these eyes of flesh. But my intention remain here is simple and yet boundless. It is to lead you ever so gently and swiftly into the depths of your own being, to that sacred root where belief is actually born. Not believe as the world speaks of it, no, but believe as it truly is. For it is my only intention to bring you to yourself only, not to the self that you have imagined under the influence of the world, but to the true self, the I am. That is your eternal reality. So, what do I mean by that? So, you see, for too long you have held on to the lies about who you are, about what is possible, about the nature of the life itself. But I am here to help that, maybe to lift that veil, to clear away the debris of falsehood so that something beautiful may be revealed. And when I say beautiful, I mean something really so beautiful that is everlasting, not fleeting, not momentary, no, but a truth that stands out, unmoved and eternal. I want to show you who you really are, not what the world has told you, not what your parents, maybe society or the teachers has conditioned you to believe. And when you know this exactly, when you taste the realization of your true self, who is the reality of yourself or maybe of your life begins to untangle. The knots of confusion loosens and the fogs lift. And before you lies a treasure, a precious, precious, precious treasure, not of a gold, no, also not of a silver, but a treasure so rich, so complete that all the things, yes, all the things becomes possible to you. You will begin to have a life that you have always desired. Not because it was given to you from without, but it arose from within. A life in its all fullness, whether it's love, whether it's health, whether it's abundance you require in life, or maybe the purpose of the life itself. Everything that you have ever dreamt of, whether I say dream come true, I mean every dream, nothing is excluded. But before this awakening can occur, there's one profound realization we must consider. That is the word belief. When I say the word belief, so many speak of the word belief. So many repeat the word as though it is some kind of a charm. But only few people only know it. And now if I may. So throughout our journey down through the corridors of the time, all the wise men, the prophets, the poets, they gave us the glimpses of this truth that we will be talking about in this podcast. They gave this truth in the form of parables, in scriptures, in whispers that echoed through the ages through these parables and maybe some kind of epics. But always and always they have said, the sages, the great man, if only a man can believe. So in these talks, throughout the series of these lectures in this podcast, we shall explore together, you and me and collectively us. what it truly means to believe. Now, when we say or when I use the word believe, I do not speak just the word believe. I do not speak of a mere agreement, not the nodding of the head, nor the empty repetition of the lips. The world says, I believe. But what it truly means is, I hope, though secretly I'm not sure of. There is behind the curtain a whisper in their voice, and that whisper is doubt. And this is not belief. That is hope distressed in maybe garments of certainty. So when I say I believe, the true belief leaves no rooms for the opposite. It is not said, the true belief is not said, it is lived. You don't try to believe, you are the belief itself. You rest in it, you move from it, you assume it until it becomes the very nature of yourself. So I still reminded of this particular story from my life. I still recall this particular woman. It was one fine afternoon, and she said, this particular woman said, Avi, I guess I have a problem. Well, this lady, I have known this lady for a long time. She's so ever young, and she basically knew about my teachings and my approach towards life. And when she said, Avi, I have a problem, she spoke of a man, one she admired, one she hoped to be different from maybe those she met before. Well, may I say, this particular lady had quite a past, which to me comes not as a surprise but as an inevitable fact of her life, because I knew this young lady. She said, I believe he's not like others, but I'm confused and I feel insecure. This is what she exactly said, and I may repeat it once again. She said, I believe he's not like others, but I'm confused and I feel insecure. And in that exact moment, two beliefs are born in this lady. One with her lips and one with her heart. On the one side, she says, I believe he's not like the others. But in the heart, she feels insecure and confused. You see, she has placed a comma, but not in her sentence only, but in her soul as well. One side declared the trust. Yeah, I believe he's not like others. And the other side quite nurtured fear, but I'm confused and I feel insecure. The belief has no comma, no contradiction whatsoever. It is not two-faced. It is firm. It is formless loyalty to the thing you feel as true about your life. And when it becomes one with you, do not believe in it. You become it. You are the belief itself. You cannot say that I believe something. You are the belief itself. So now let's examine the word that we have been repeating quite some time. Believe. For the world, it's just an intellectual word. But when we see it under the lens of what it means, the whole thing appears what was not once clear. So when I say I believe, or you say you believe, or we say we believe, it's not just a word of intellect, not in a dictionary. No, it's not a logic. It's not an argument. No, it's far, far, far older and far deeper. The word believe comes from the old tongue when we find the root word, from the word belifan. And do you know what it means? Not to agree, not to analyze, but to hold dear. That's what exactly the word belief means, to hold dear, to trust, to love. And this is what the word originally meant. Do you hear that? To believe is to love. To believe is to cling as a child clings to its mother with no questions whatsoever, with no doubt. It is the sacred attachment of the soul to what it calls real. You are the belief itself. So when you say I believe, you're not just reciting an idea, you're embracing a beloved fact about your life. You're entering into the union with the thing which is unseen, and you call it as a fact of your life. You are giving yourself in a quiet fidelity to what may be that which cannot be yet touched. But you must have felt it. That's why you call it a belief. Belief was never meant to be cold intellect. No. It is a burning sensation in the heart. A sacred attachment to that which you feel as real. That's why you say, I believe something. Belief is an emotion. It is a feeling. And that feeling builds your world. And when one tries to shake your belief, you feel it first in your body. Because belief is not in the mind, it is in the feeling. So, if I can take you to the east, maybe in the ancient scriptures, in Indian subcontinent, and to be precise, in India, belief is sometimes translated as a word Vishwas. Vishwas is a Sanskrit word, or you can say Vishwas in modern day Hindi dialect as well. The word is Vishwas. And if we see the etymology or the exact root meaning of the word, it simply means the trust and faith. That is the word Vishwas. So when we break down the word, it is made up of two parts. The word Vishwas, V, and the word Shwas. And now let's simply analyze its meaning, what it actually means. It simply means to breathe with ease around the thing that you have believed. So let's see. V and the word Shwas. V simply means it is a prefix in Sanskrit often used to intensify the root word, the Shwas word. It can also mean apart, distinctly and fully. In this context, it implies firmness and completeness. It is a prefix word. And the second word in this second part, that is the root word Shwas. This root is related to the breath or the life force, because from Shwasa it is derived, and it simply means to breathe. So just think of it. True belief is when the soul can breathe with no anxiety, no fear, only rest. For the belief is a state of relaxed knowing. Belief is a feeling when you're confident of something as a factual fact of your life. But again I say, but only if a man can believe. So let us return to the scriptures, not to argue them, not to debate them, but to experience them. You see, every man I've ever known, every man I've ever spoken to tries to in some way, to justify his life through the word. And what's fascinating is this, it's not his triumphs that he seeks scriptures, but in his failures when he seeks scriptures. When he falls short, he turns to the text and says, it is written, see. It is exactly written. It is meant to happen, as though that might redeem his experience or her experience. But I will not take you from your beloved scriptures. No, I will not. I will quote it word for word exactly what it means. And in the end, I will not tell you what to believe. I will simply say, judge. And if you must. Or better still, you practice it. For the word is not outside of you. It is within you. Let us now turn to the sacred dialogue, one of the Indian scripture, yet it speaks to the same eternal truth that I have always taught to the people. It is a conversation between a great sage in India, Maharishi Vasishtha, and the young prince Rama, the ideal man, the awakened in consciousness. You'll find this particular dialogue in the Yoga Vasishtha book, the book of final liberation. And there says in the chapter 157 and the verse 31, Na yatha yatate nityam, yad bhavati yanmaya, yadr ichecha bhavitum, tadr bhavati nanayata. Which simply means, not by constant effort does one become something. That one deeply feels and is filled with, that one becomes. One becomes exactly as one desires to be, not otherwise. So it is said in the book of Yoga Vasishtha in the chapter 157 and verse 31. And it simply means, not by constant effort does one become something. That one deeply feels and is filled with, that one becomes. One becomes exactly one desires to be, not otherwise. Do you hear that? I'm not misquoting, I'm quoting exactly and translating exactly. But only if you can believe, and only if man can believe. Now we've been led to believe from our life, from the very beginning, that life must be a struggle. This is how we have been bred. This is how we have been brought up. That to get anything worthwhile, we must first fight, hustle, strive, and push. We have been bred on that belief that efforts equals achievement, and that sweat is the price of success, haven't we? But the scriptures, oh, the scriptures, they tell a completely different story. And the tragedy is, we claim to believe in these sacred texts. We recite them, we venerate them, we decorate the dialogues from the scriptures in our home with their verses and our tongues with their names, but we do not live them. We have just made them as an item of decoration, maybe in some kind of a tattoo in our body. We do not apply them. We do not stop long enough to understand what they truly means about who we are, about how reality works, and about the effortless power that lies within us. Instead, we call ourselves religious and we call ourselves faithful, but our faith is often in the outer act, not in the inner truth. Now look around and tell me, what do you see? You see a man struggling through life, chasing after bread and butter, burning out his body, wearing out his ears just to make ends meet. And yet he calls himself religious. He says, I believe in God, I believe in the scriptures. But what truth those scriptures has he actually embodied? Tell me what? The ancient sages told us plainly, Yadr ichech pavitum tadr bhavati nayatha. As one desires to be, so one becomes, not otherwise. And still man wages war with this world and with himself, not knowing this truth, but from the believing just quite the opposite. So may I ask you, come judge yourself. What do you believe inside of your mind? Be honest with yourself. Be critical. What do you believe? Do you not believe it takes 10 years of grinding just to own a home? Do you not believe people out there to cheat you, to take from you, to betray you? Do you not say to yourself, good things takes time? That is your belief. The life is hard. That is your belief. Nothing comes easy. That is your belief. Then is it any surprise that this is the exact world that you live in? This is how your life is? This is your belief outpictured. You believe in effort, so life gives you labor. And when you believe in loss, so life gives you fear. You believe in the delays, so life gives you waiting. And yet the scriptures, east, west, north, south, tells us plainly, as the man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You become as you feel yourself to be. According to your faith, be it unto you. So may I ask you again? I want to invite you, not as a judgment, but it's just a plain invitation. What do you believe about the life itself, about yourself itself, about the reality itself? Because that what your world is exactly showing you right now. Let's take another quote, if I may, which is ancient said to us repeatedly multiple times in the Bhagavad Gita and various other Puranas and other scriptures in the Indian subcontinent. We have been told, and I am quoting exactly, Yad bhavati tad bhati. Yad bhavati tad bhati, which simply means that which is felt becomes. Not thought, not spoken, but felt. That which is felt becomes. What do you feel appears. Or what exactly it says, what do you feel deeply appears. What do you dwell in? You dwell as. So may I ask, what are you believing and what are you feeling about life? Because what you feel actually becomes. It appears in your life. This is what the scriptures tells us. Because in the end, the two are one. You and your belief. So walk with me, dear listeners, into the temple of your own being. And remember, the world you see is not just made of facts. It is made up of faith. Not of matter. It's not made of matter. It's made of your own assumptions. And only if a man can believe, all things are possible. But man today, nowadays, has and grows in today's world so much that he has forgotten, at least ignores, or maybe only recites the word from the scriptures and do not practice it. They are just the hearer of the scripture word, not the doers. They take a scripture package, maybe some kind of a word, maybe some verses, put it on their body, call it as a tattoo, but they do not practice it. Or maybe I can say, or worse, he has forgotten it. He recites it, he quotes it, he frames it on his maybe home walls and tattoo is on his body. but he does not live it. He becomes the hearer of the word, not just. Maybe he should become a doer. And what good is the truth repeated if it is never practiced? You can repeat 1,000 times, you can make it a painting, you can put it on a wall, but you never practice it. Because in the end, to know and not to do is not to know. Scripture was never meant to be worshipped, it was meant to be embodied, to be felt, to be walked out, to become your experience. So I say to you, don't just repeat the truth. You enter it, you wear it, you live it. Now it is my sincere hope that you simply listen. Not that you agree, but you practice this. That you live by the true meaning of the word belief. Your world, your personal reality, your life is your belief outpictured. I cannot convince you, not even 1,000 years. I could never. And I've never tried. But what I've done is to state your own scriptures. Go back to your own scriptures. The very truth that you say you believe in, that I believe in, that we all in some form or the others, that we have inherited. But the question is that belief deep enough to be lived? Not just recited, not just admired, but to be embodied. Do you think that the ancients, maybe sages, all the poets gave us these teachings made just as a poetry, maybe epics, just the verses from the scriptures? Just as a cultural epics or maybe symbolical myth? No, they gave us what they have lived, what they have proved, what they have become. They wrote these truths not as a story of this man or that god or that particular, but as a map for your own consciousness. It is about you. Until you experience what we have discussed here in this podcast, until you have taken into the lab of your own imagination and proved it in some kind of a performance or test, no one can convince you. Not me, not scriptures, not anyone. So today, I leave you with this. You test it, you live it, and you prove it. Because the greatest proof of experience, the greatest proof of this particular thing to be working, what we have discussed in this podcast, is your own experience. And that I am certain that you will have sooner or later. But before we move to the very practical side of this podcast or this lecture, I just reminded of a lady, which it was another lady which I just reminded just now. She was in her early 30s, very gentle, soft spoken, a very kind spirited person. You would call it a kind or harmless type of a person. Still young, or at least in a way I saw her. So one day, troubled and worn, she shared her concern with me. She said, Avi, I don't think I'll ever find a good partner. Well, she had tried dating apps, all the kind of a conversation, all the meeting spots, all the dating places, or what kind of a things that we have in this world right now. And she went on, the world is full of cheaters. The dating apps are jokes, the men are dogs, all of them. And on she went until I could see in her own eyes, she realized she had spoken to me too much. This is what she exactly said to me. The world is full of cheaters. All the kind of a dating apps and maybe websites are just a joke, and all men are dogs. So after she stopped, after she has realized she has spoken too much to me, I gently asked her, or maybe told her, don't tell me what you don't want. Just tell me, what do you want? But again, she listed some kind of a long list of problems. She continued to list all kind of a problem she's having. More reasons why it couldn't happen. Why couldn't she find a good partner in her life? And I thought to myself, this is what exactly so many people do right now. They say they want something, but all they really offer to the world and to themselves is a very long list of everything what's wrong with them. And at the very end, after listing all kind of a problem, at the very end, like a cherry on the top of a sour cake, they whisper, but I just want love. After speaking to me after 10 to 15 minutes, by giving me all kind of a problem that they're having, even after asking, don't tell me what do you want. I meet young people like this all the time, and when I ask them about their dream, they just mumble, ramble, and they simply say, I don't know. They rarely do they ever see, I want this particularly. They first of all starts with a long list of a problem that they have in their life, and then as a cherry on the top of a cake in the last sentence or maybe the last line, they simply say, I just want this. Why this happens? because they don't truly believe that they can have it. They think clarity is very, very much dangerous. That leads to desire, and desire leads to disappointment. But the belief is always working. It doesn't care what you believe. It simply makes it true for you what you believe, what you feel appears in your life. So this particular lady, what I was talking about, she was as sweet as you can even imagine a woman to be. But she believed that all the men were cheaters, that her world gave us exactly that, because that was her belief, that all men are cheaters. And that's the exact world she was living in. And until one particular day, I told her plainly, you need to stop believing that all men are cheaters. You start believing quite opposite, that love is faithful, men are kind, and the right one always finds me. She didn't understand why I said it. She couldn't see the belief behind it, that her belief is the ultimate reality of her life. Her belief is getting outpictured in her life. She couldn't believe it. But not long after that, after we had a last set of conversations, something changed in her. She met someone I guess she could even marry him, and she was glowing with the happiness next time I saw her. But here's the truth. The rest of her life was still shaped by the belief she never questioned. She still saw by them. She still carries them around like a sacred scars. And as for how she is doing today, I truly do not know. But I know this. I saw with my own eyes what a single shift in the belief can actually do to one's life. And this is exactly the thing I'm teaching you. And this is exactly the thing I'm here on this podcast to tell the people. That their belief, their assumption that they hold about their life is actually getting outpictured in their own life. What do you believe actually becomes? What do you feel deeply about your life? It gets outpictured. This is not a philosophy, not a story, and not even an advice. It is a law, a principle, a truth. You do not get what you want. You get what you believe about yourself. And only if you can believe, you will see the world becomes the flesh with your own eyes, what you believe to be true. Scripture isn't passive. It works when you work for it. When you work with it, and you actually become the embodiment of the scriptural words. You do not believe something, you are the belief itself. Now, if somehow I've been able to convince you, even for a moment, that I've persuaded you, not with my philosophy, but with your own scripture itself, and if I've even managed to explain you clearly enough that those words truly, what exactly those truly the scriptural word is, so clearly that you no longer treat them as a metaphor, but you take them literally, exactly word for word, then the time has come to act. Because this isn't my teaching, this isn't my opinion, this is not something you can disregard, rather this is just someone's view. No, this is your own scripture, your own sacred text. And what does it say? Na yatha yatha te nityam yad bhavayati yan maya yadra ichecha bhavitum tadr bhavati nanyatha. Not by constant effort does one become something, but that one deeply feels and is filled with, that one becomes. One becomes exactly as one desires to be, not otherwise. And again, sages said the same thing. That which is felt appears. Yad bhavati tad bhati. So, if we claim that scriptures are sacred, to be honest, then I may ask, why not live it as if it's true? Why do not believe the word? Why do not we as a person put it in practice? So let me tell you, let me ask you, what do you want from this life? What do you exactly want from this life? Not what problems you are facing, what do you exactly want from this life? Not what others think that you should want, not what society has handed you, not what fears allows or what your reasons or logic calculates, but you, your own dream. What do you truly honestly want? It could be house, that's perfectly alright. It could be a love, a relationship, it could be a freedom, or the purpose of the life itself, or maybe peace in life. Whatever it is, dream it big. And don't concern yourself with how it will happen. The how is not your work, the feeling is the work. Go back to your own scripture. Reflect on what you have heard tonight. And if you believe even a fragment of what you say you believe, then place your faith in these words. That which is felt deeply appears. That one deeply feels, that one becomes. These are not my words. These are the words you already called sacred. These are the words from your own scriptures. So now I invite you, put it to the test. Not to prove anything to me or maybe even to the world, but to yourself only. If you believe the words that which is felt deeply appears, then ask yourself, what would it feel like if it is already true about your life? If you have a desire, a home, relationship, the abundance of wealth, what would it feel like if it is true about yourself? If you are already the person who's happily married to the person that you love, what would it feel like if you have all kind of a wealth that you have ever imagined to experience, if it is true? What would it feel like if your dream has arrived? If the house were yours, if the job secured, the relationship thriving, if the healing you had already happened, if the breakthrough were already behind you, not someday, not maybe, but already true about yourself. What if you can make this as a belief of yourself about your own life? You must feel that feeling and feel it deeply. Because if the scripture is true, and it is, then the word has no choice but to reflect. Because what is felt deeply appears. But only if you can feel it. But only if you can believe it. I'm not speculating, not I'm theorizing. It's not a new philosophy. This is exactly what I have proven in my own experience from time again and again. And the situation in my life seems impossible to my human mind, to my reasonable mind, that I feel something is unsurmountable. I simply ask what it feel like if I already have solved the problem of what I'm facing in my life. What it would feel like if I already have the thing which I seek into this world. I never concern myself who will bring it, how it happened, who will bring it. I just simply ask, what would it feel like if I'm already the person I desire to be? And what I all do is just to feel it deeply. Because I put my trust in this phrase, that which is felt deeply appears. But if I can feel very specific situation in my life, which I truly believe in these words of the scripture, then it must appear in my world. And I'm not being concerned who will bring this or how or when it's going to happen, because it has already happened, because this is what exactly the word belief means. I put my belief in a simple statement. What would it feel like if it is true about me? If the solution has already solved, I do not trust my senses, my reasoning, how it's going to happen, because this is what we have been told. What you feel deeply must appear. If the scripture is true, I'm not against speculating or making things up. I'm telling you exactly what my experience is, and no one in this world can convince me otherwise, because I have the biggest proof of this working. It's my own experience. Now let me be once again very, very clear. I'm not speculating. I'm not philosophizing. I'm not introducing some new theory or modern take on ancient truth. I'm telling you now, I have proven this in my own experience from time again and again. So when life seems impossible, when problems towered over me, when my logical and human mind whispered this is too much to take, I would pause and simply ask, what would it feel like if it is already solved? And I put my belief in it. What would it feel like if I am already living in the solution? I don't argue with the people. I don't beg to the world. I don't wrestle with how or when. I just feel. That's what I'm concerned about. That's what you should do. I feel as though it's already done. As though the answer has already come. As the problem is already lifted. As the door has already opened. I just feel. And I just simply put my trust in one place. The one eternal truth. That which is felt appears. Not maybe, not sometimes. It appears. And if I can take a very specific situation, something that seems stuck, blocked, or maybe felt impossible to me, and feel the reality of to be transformed within me, then I know it must appear. I simply put my faith, and the word belief in me arises a new reality in my life. I'm not repeating what I've heard from someone else. I'm telling you exactly what I have lived. And no one, no book, no scholar, no logic can convince me otherwise, because I have the greatest proof a man can have. That's my own experience. I could tell you unnumbered stories from my life, from the lives of those who have walked beside me, who seek me for my help. Stories without end, because the law never fails. The word belief never fails. If you truly understand what belief means, I do not concern myself with the mechanics, who will do it, how or when. That's not my domain. I do not concern myself with these things. I just concern myself with one thing. What would it feel like if it is true, and I build my belief on it? If it has, then I must feel from that particular state, not a wishful thinking, not hoping, but feeling as if it is already true about me. And in that exact feeling I rest, because that's what belief is. When your soul can rest over a particular fact about your life. As what we have said in this lecture, belief is not in the head. It is in the feeling itself. And what exactly what you feel about, truly about your life, it must appear in your own world. Now go back to your home. Sit with yourself quietly and just introspect what kind of a belief you have built, that you have most probably gotten from your friends, family, society, maybe social media, about yourself, about your own life. Is it what you're not living right now? Your belief is always outpictured in your own life. So I take my desire, as I said, I clothe in a feeling, and then I let it be. And do you know what it happens? It comes to pass. So I do not ask you to believe me. No. That would be too small of a thing. I'm not here to be believed, nor is this truth so weak and frail that it leans on the back of another's voice. No. I simply ask you this. Believe yourself, not your past, not your assumptions of your life, not your fears, not the stories others have spoken over your life. No. But that quiet, still voice within, that once you have ignored too long, and above all, test it, not in theory just, not in talk, but in a silence of your own soul. Feel from the place of wish fulfilled. Walk in that feeling of the answered prayer that you've always been seeking. And if you dare to do that, even once, you will never again question who you are. Because the moment that you feel it deeply and purely without strain, it will appear in the ways you could not even plan. By the hands you will never trace, through the doors you never even yours. It will come. That's what I can promise you. Not because what I have said it, not because the scriptures wrote it, but because you have believed. So please do not believe me. Believe as you were always meant to believe, as the one who was never separate from the thing desired, the one and only one to convince is yourself only. And when you do, the world will echo back to you. The world will echo back to you what you have dared to feel in the secret, and you will know, not in theory, but in a thunderous experience, that belief, when felt as truth, creates reality. So go, try it, and see how the world becomes. So now we have come to the closing of our podcast. But may I say, you haven't come to the end of the truth. You have just come into the beginning of your own experience. I have not brought you a theory tonight. No, I have not brought you philosophy. I have brought you the one and only thing. This, the word believe. And the word believe, that does not care who you are, but only cares what do you believe to be true. You do not need to beg to the world. You do not need to strive. You do not need to do anything which goes against the very nature of your own self. You just need to feel, and feel as though your desires are already true, and make it a belief of your life. If you do it, persistently, faithfully, and quietly, then I promise you this one thing: it will harden into fact. Because that which is felt deeply appears, and this is your own scriptures. And this is the law, and this is the word belief itself. I do not ask you that you agree with me here. I only ask you that you try. You put it to the test. And if it proves itself in your own world, then no man on earth or anyone can ever convince you otherwise. You will know, as I know right now, by your own wonderful human experience. So tonight, when you lie down to the sleep, you do not go to the bed as a man or woman. Maybe you were before this listening to this particular podcast. No, you go to the bed as the one person you desire to be. Pick up any dream about your life and make it as a real factual belief of your life, and then go to the bed. Feel it real, and in time, in a way you do not need to know at all, you will rise as the one which you have already assumed to be true. And right now, let me leave you in full confidence that you will remember. You become what you believe, and belief is nothing more than the feeling made alive. So, until we meet again in the next lecture, again, dare to believe, dare to feel, dare to live as if though already true. I'm just here reminding you who you are.